You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It is a Memorial Day Monday edition of the mighty Ross Tucker Football Podcast. And I have been waiting for this for a long time. I know I say that a lot, but you guys have heard me tell stories or post on social media over the years about my former teammate, LaVar Arrington, and the one scuffle we got in particular. Well, we got him. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. LaVar Arrington on today's show. I should mention, check me out on social media, please, at Ross Tucker NFL, us at Ross Tucker Pod. Of course, you can watch us, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. And I'm doing it again this week. You rate and review the show. You send me that email, ross@rosstucker.com. I'll send you an autograph as well. It's Big Show time.
The Big Show.
I don't know if I've ever told either one of these stories on the show before, but I know LaVar is aware of them. I know I tell the stories often. We'll get to that in a second. I'm joined by LaVar Arrington, a former teammate of mine, and a guy that I guess I consider a friend because we run into each other in the same circles a little bit. Yeah, because of your time at Pennsylvania and at Penn State. So before I get into some of the stuff I have for you, LaVar, just an update. Obviously, I know you're doing the radio show, but I think, for people that maybe don't listen to your show, Two Pros and a Cup of Joe on Fox Sports Radio, just give an update on everything you got going in your life right now.
Wow. Well, I also do Up On Game as well on weekends with TJ Hushmanzada and Plexico Burris. So I do 6 days a week of radio with Fox Sports Radio and iHeartMedia. During the week is Two Pros and a Cup of Joe with Jonas Knox and Brady Quinn. And actually Up On Game is a production company, a production house where our biggest project to date has been working on helping build brands and working with the athletes at colleges, and more specifically, obviously, I've started off with Penn State as one of my major projects. So that's been going really well, and a lot of great things have come from that. But we create content, we create shows. We've launched probably over 12 podcast shows since inception. So there's a lot going on, and it's super, super exciting. But this is a great time it has always been a great time for content.
Yeah.
But all of these different ways that new technology has created for content distribution has created a golden age of creating shows and content.
It's so funny. I didn't think of this, LaVar, until you just said that. When you were at Penn State, dude, you would have cleaned up. You would have cleaned up. Can you imagine how many number 11 jerseys they would have sold? And with your personality. Imagine how many they already did sell.
Yeah.
But you guys didn't get any of it.
That's,
that was your frustration, right?
I've never been frustrated about it. I just always have understood in a lot of ways. I mean, we were teammates. It was one of the things I took pride in, is being able to make myself an endearing figure to the communities that I was, performing in and I was serving. So that's always been a thing for me. And to be able to monetize it at the college level, I think would have been pretty interesting. It would have been pretty interesting, to say the least, just because I enjoy being around the people that really invest in who we are as athletes, because that's not always the case, but to have the opportunity to be able to personally impact and be a part of people's lives just like they are with yours, it would have probably been a really, really lucrative time for me.
It's awesome. So I have two stories that I tell people a lot about my time in the NFL that both are related to you. So people that don't know, and obviously the listeners know, LaVar and I are actually the same year from Pennsylvania. Now, he was out in Western PA. I was in Eastern PA. But he was like a legend. Did you win the state championship in ninth grade? Won the state championship in ninth grade. So LaVar was very, very well known. It's funny. I always tell the story. You probably don't even know this. But when I was getting recruited, I was a late bloomer. So my scholarships were like William & Mary in Delaware. I thought I was cool, LaVar, because the William & Mary coach drove down to my house right from Brett Veach's house. The Chiefs GM.
We played in a Big 33 together.
That's right. He was the small school state player of the year, and he was from up in the coal region, Mount Carmel. So, like, as a lineman or whatever, like, I thought I was cool because he was the AP small school state player. So, I thought it was cool that they came to my house. Veach always laughs at that now because obviously he didn't make the NFL or anything like that. But it's funny.
He made the NFL. Just a little differently.
Just a little different.
Yeah.
So the story I tell people, I got two. I know you know the second one. The first one you might not even know or remember, but it was rookie minicamp. So LaVar left school after 3 years, so it was your second year. I started 30 games at right guard at Princeton.
You came in with Antonio Pierce. People might not know that.
Yes.
You guys were the same both
year.
Undrafted,
That's
too.
right.
Yeah.
And Kenny Watson.
And Kenny Watson.
And what's his name? Ifeanyi Olete.
Yeah. Ife.
So anyway, so they tell me I'm moving to tackle. I played college, Ivy League guard. Now I'm playing tackle. Something happened with one of the other kids. So I'm the backup right tackle. My first minute, I haven't even graduated from Princeton yet. This is, the weekend after the draft. They put me at right tackle. My first one-on-one in the NFL were against you. And I knew how fast you were. Well, I knew how fast you were. So I was so worried about it. I kicked back so fast. You gave me an up and under, and I barely even touched you, right? And I was like, well, you can't do that. Like, that's a cardinal sin. You can't get beat inside. What are you doing? So the next time I set on you, and for people who don't know, you do back-to-back. So the next time I set on you, and I kind of wait on you, and you kind of did the same move. You went up and under, but this time I was there for it.
Okay.
And all we have on is helmets. And you put your helmet, in my chest. You were, driving. People don't realize, LaVar practiced hard and played hard. That's just how you were. So all I remember is, I'm like this, right? And the only thing I was able to do is my right hand somehow got up on your throat. And it's one of the life moments, what do you have in you? And I just squeezed as hard as I could. I tried to rip your Adam's apple out.
Good for you.
Yeah, so I did that. So then you stopped and looked at me, and I don't remember how many times the rest of the practice you looked at me, but I remember a couple times, LaVar, you might have been talking to Bruce Smith or Darryl Green or somebody, right? And you're looking at me and pointing at me. I remember thinking, okay, I don't know if that's good or bad or what's going on there. We get in the locker room after practice. This is my first practice in the NFL. I couldn't believe the day before the physical, looking at Jeff George and Bruce Smith and Darryl Green.
Right.
I get in the locker. I have the crappy lockers for the undrafted rookies. You literally had the locker next to the shower.
We was in Park Place.
Yeah. So I grab my towel, and you're still talking to Big Daddy or something and pointing at me. I'm like, oh man, this might be this might go down. I was so, and you look like you could be the heavyweight champion of the world. I was like, I'm in trouble. So I'm walking, and you said to me, right before I get into where the showers are, you go, yo, Princeton. And I was like, yeah. And you said, going for my throat and stuff. You didn't say stuff. I try not to swear on my show.
I probably said something other than that.
And I said, yeah. And you got a huge smile, LaVar.
Good
and said, I like that.
Yeah.
You said, I like that. And I thought you were going to fight me. I thought.
Well, we did fight.
Well, that was later. That was later. But, dude, I was worried. So you probably don't remember any of that.
But it's all good.
But
I always liked you. That was the thing.
I appreciate that.
You were, we needed.
You liked that I got after it. Yeah.
Me and Jansen fought too. Me and Jansen. I remember one time. It wasn't quite because me and Jansen didn't throw. Me and you didn't really throw, but it was kind of we have different.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, but me and Jansen grabbed each other's face mask at one point in time. And he was holding my face mask, and I was holding his, and we were holding it. And Coach Schottenheimer is breaking down. He's talking to us at the end of the practice, and me and him are still on the field, all the way down, still hold. We went the whole entire time. He didn't dismiss the team and everything. But to me, to have an offensive lineman that would match my nastiness on the field, because I'm not a nasty person off the field,
right?
But on the field, of course. But on the field, I wanted to win.
Yeah, no.
So
you were.
You get enough guys that are out there that's playing for keeps, then you got a chance. And so when you came in, I don't recall exactly what our interaction was on that, but I will say, I always liked that you were an overachiever on the field. You really worked your ass off. every time you were on the field, and I took notice of that pretty quickly.
So I tell that story actually like when I give speaking engagements, and my lesson is like, no matter what industry you're in, figure out what earns you respect and do it. It's just about, and I learned that day that a willingness to be violent, but to to squeeze your neck, like gets respect. All right, so then the other story I know you've heard about, and you remember,
and I remember it. So I just think we remember it differently, but we definitely. I remember that one.
You give your version.
So we were, and it was like a 3-quarter walkthrough. It's like
no, wrong,
100%,
wrong,
100%.
It was middle of 2002, Spurrier's first year. Okay. And it was a live period.
No way.
Yes, it was.
That's you're wrong.
Yes, it was.
You are 1,000% inaccurate. Incorrect. It was a 3-quarter speed. You guys we were getting fits. I think because it was the same exact play, whatever it was. You guys were getting your fits, and it was a 2-contact stop. Because if you recall, I come off, and you got a hold of me, and I stopped. As soon as I stopped, then you started driving me. And I was like, all right. The first time I was like, all right, I like it. Ross is being Ross. That's cool. Then you kept doing it. And I was like, Ross, I'm going to F you up. If you keep doing this, Ross, I'm going to F you up. Like, I'm giving myself up.
I remember that part of it.
Quit extra, like, dumping on me. Like, don't. I know you're trying to get your job or maintain your. I didn't know if you had to have been starting because.
No, I had been starting.
You had to have been starting.
Then I played bad against the Eagles on Monday night, and I knew I was in danger. And by the way, I got fired like 2 weeks later. I knew I was in danger, so I was. In fairness to LaVar, I was practicing harder than a guy.
It was not a live period, though.
That was a live period.
It was not a live. Ross, there is never 100 times out of 100 times if I'm in a live period, I'm going live.
All right, so anyway,
I will never not go live. But we were in a period where once you got your fit, I stopped.
Okay. So anyway, let's move on from that part of it. We got to tell the rest of the story.
So then now you're coming here, and I'm like, nah, that's too much, bro. Like, don't do that again. Like, you do it again, I'm like,
yeah.
Now, what happens next is you do it again. And I believe I grabbed your face mask because that's my patent. Because I'm not trying to hurt my hand. I grabbed your face mask up and I started punching on you. Now I don't know what your interpretation of it was from that moment. I just know I was punching and then I ripped your helmet off. And then I start walking off the field. And I see you walking towards me. And the way I saw you walking
my God.
I see you walking towards me.
This is all fiction.
No way.
This is all fiction.
No way.
Dude,
the story is being...
I will get other people on the show.
No way.
I'll get John Jansen. I'll get Trotter.
No
I'll
way.
Get other people on the show.
I'm walking off of the field, and I see your shadow coming towards me.
No way.
That's how I remember it.
So...
I swung the helmet backwards, by the way, because there was a helmet swinging. I swung the helmet backwards.
Okay, so then how did I get the 4 stitches in my...
Where are they? Let me see them. I can't see it.
Well, it's been 20 years, but they're like right
Move your finger. I can't see it.
So the short version is...
Was I facing you when I hit you with it?
No, so what happened is...
Yeah. Let me get your version.
No, you... So my version would be I was practicing harder than I should have been. And you said, Tuck, I'm telling you, man. Like, you gave me a warning.
Yep.
And I said, dude, do what you got to do. I'm trying to keep my job. Because I knew I was on thin ice, right? And so you were lined up coming off the edge, blitzing. And I was like, and I knew I had to pop and get you. I knew almost before the play what was going to happen. So I pop and kick. I get you. And you just start swinging, and then I feel like I'm getting.
I'm more of a ninja, though. Like I'm not doing all of that. Like I'm grabbing it.
But I feel like I'm getting the better of it, and you're just working on my helmet, getting it off.
You might have.
And I'm punching you.
You might have.
Next thing I know, you have my helmet off, and you swing it at me as hard as you could. Thank God you missed. I would have died, dude. Thank God you missed. And then they come over and they break us up like this. And somehow you get your right arm out and you give like a right hook to the side of my left ear and it splits it open.
See, I'm a warrior, Tuck.
No, that was good. That was good.
I'm a warrior.
I have no problem with that.
No, I don't. No. See, once you're starting to get broke up, I'm not a cheap shot artist. Like
It wasn't cheap.
I felt like I don't even remember anybody grabbing us. To be honest, I just remember holding your helmet and walking off the field. And I do recall seeing like you weren't finished, like you were still going, and you came after me, and I threw back, I swung back at you. That's how I remember it. I don't.
Yeah, I haven't been.
Regardless, but
Clearly.
I don't know. I got it. I didn't go.
Hey,
but
I forgot to tell you. So here's the funny part of the story you've never heard. So I go in after practice, and Dr. Casolaro, I think his name was,
Casolaro.
he put in the stitches, and then I had hit you in the helmet a bunch of times. They x-rayed my hand. They thought I might have broke my hand punching your helmet like an idiot.
Yeah, see, I don't punch helmets.
So then I drive home afterwards, and I call my wife. She's working for J.P. Morgan in Manhattan, and I'm like, "How was your day?" And she's like, "Oh, you wouldn't believe what Elizabeth said at that lunch and blah blah blah." She's like, "How was your day?" I'm like, "Well, I almost died. I got 4 stitches in my ear. They thought I broke my hand, but tell me more about what Elizabeth said at lunch." Like,
why?
kind of a tough day at the office.
Wife, however the story goes, I apologize all these years later. I would not have wanted you to be mortified by what took place at your husband's workplace.
I have no problem with what you did.
I apologize.
I'll take that back, actually. You like swinging the helmet, like, dude, you would have gone to jail forever. I could have died and you would have gone like that. But in that fit of rage, I get it. If roles were reversed, I'm pretty confident I would have swung your helmet at your head.
I'm just letting you tell your story the way you're telling it in the way you remember. I don't recall it that way.
I want to move on to one thing.
Come on, let's move on to it.
Okay. So I played for 5 teams over 7 years. And what I tell people is I believe you were the most physically gifted guy that I've ever played with, the most explosive guy I ever played with. I have a theory on you.
All right.
Because if you remember that second year, your second year, you went to the Pro Bowl. You were just outrageous. I mean, you would run past K. Mitch, rest in peace, and Robert Jones like they were standing. Like you were the most explosive guys ever around. My theory on you is that like your joints, like your muscles were too explosive for your joints to stay healthy. In other words, like the reason why you had several injuries, obviously you played really hard, but you were just such a freak show and so explosive that, and you've seen this with other NFL players, your joint, like you were more susceptible to injury because of it.
I mean, I split my cartilage. So you're probably right.
Is that what happened?
I mean, the injury that ended my career, well, I wouldn't say ended it. I was done when I blew my Achilles tendon. But I blew my Achilles tendon.
New York or Washington?
In New York. But I blew it because I was off balance. And so it's interesting because that was the injury I kept getting was I kept splitting my cartilage. So every time I take off or I do something or whatever it may be, I would have to go get my knee. Dr. Andrews was cleaning up my knee all the time from split cartilage. And that was what it kind of threw me off balance. You know,
but that's because your cartilage in your knee is like
that's your cushion.
Yes,
that's your cushion.
And I think you're so explosive. Your muscle, dude. You like coming off the edge, or you when you would hit people, or the big thing to me was you would run past. Like if the play was to the opposite side, you would run past the middle linebacker.
I'm gonna run it down.
Yeah, I mean you're. I don't know what your 40 time is, but you're like 10, 20-yard burst, just outrageous. Yeah. Outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Is it
frustrating that you weren't, like, do you look back on it and say, man, I was All-American, 2-time All-American, number 2 pick, Pro Bowl, All-Pro, all that stuff, made a bunch of money, had an awesome career? Or is it frustration like, man, I could have been like one of the like if I didn't have the cartilage issue, like I could have really been one of like the all-time greats.
And you think of it both? I think of it every once in a while, but I was pretty dope in college. So I had a 3-year run in college, really 2 years, and then in the pros I had the second half of my rookie year on into 2004. So 2001, 2002, 2003. So 2004 I dropped off.
And LaVar, 2001. you make the Pro Bowl as an off-the-ball linebacker.
Yeah, they did.
2002, Marvin Lewis
started bringing
has you coming off the edge, and you had like double-digit sacks.
Yeah, I led all
Did you
all
like
backers.
You actually were doing some of this stuff. They should have done the stuff that they do with Micah in Dallas.
They should have. They
guys are very similar.
Marvin Lewis did that, and I ended up with 11.5 sacks, I believe, that year. So, and then he was gone.
Spurrier year.
Yeah, and then he was gone.
Right.
Like I was telling people, my rookie year, I had Ray Rhodes. My second year, I had Kurt Schottenheimer.
Yeah.
My third year, I had Marvin Lewis. My fourth year, I had George Edwards. My fifth year, I had Greg Williams. So my first 5 years in the league, I had a different defensive coordinator every single year.
Dude, you had 11.5 sacks, and you still weren't rushing all the time.
No,
and we were terrible. We were not a good team. So it's not like we had leads that you were getting. Like, you could have had a lot of sacks.
It is what it is. I don't live in the past of it. I really, for me, I do so much. And you mentioned Micah. Like, I had an impact on Micah. I've helped mentor some amazing football players. Obviously, I got my whole Stick City stuff.
I love it. I love it.
And, 11's become a number that's synonymous with guys who play the game at a certain level and are certain types of person. And just being a part of that type of tradition and that history.
Dude, you started that.
Yeah.
You started like a real legacy that's still going on at Penn State 25 years later. And not many guys do that.
Yeah, but think about it, Tuck. It's branding, right? Really, all it comes down to is having the awareness.
But how do you pick which guy gets to wear it?
It's a process. It's a process. But Coach Franklin has honored that process and has been a very integral part in how the number has emerged in the way that it has. I mean, there were guys before that, even when Joe was still coaching, with Navarro. Navarro was an interesting story. He kept getting into a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
And so I told Joe the second time something happened where he was going to get kicked off the team and get kicked off for good, I told him, let me have this summer with him. And me and Navarro spent the whole summer together. And I was like and rest in peace, Carl Weathers. It was kind of like an Apollo Creed, Rocky Balboa moment where it's like you're going into the season. He was number 18. And I was like, you've been with me. I've had a fingerprint on DNA on your change and your growth. I said, switch, rebrand yourself, start anew, and be number 11, be the next Sticks. And he did it. And boy, he
took off after that.
It took off.
That was real.
So it just kind of turned into a thing after that. But then you had somebody, Brandon Bell Ward, amazing. They won the Big Ten. Then obviously, you got Micah, you got Abdul Carter wearing it. So
I like him too.
It's been good. Oh yeah, he's going to be a good one.
Hey, check him out on social media at LaVar Arrington. Obviously, he's got a lot
King of the
going.
Mammals on Instagram.
That's right.
King of the Mammals.
King of the Mammals, and of course everything going on with his Fox Sports Radio stuff and his branding company. It's awesome. Thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey man, it's great talking to you. And listen, I'm sorry. However it went down, wherever the truth of it lies, we did lock horns. But you know what? It was always in love.
Hey, it's just a good story now.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Man, that was as good as I thought it would be. LaVar's got a bad memory, though. That is not what happened, but whatever. Anyway, just you guys trust me. Listen to my show. I hope you trust me. Anyway, that was fun. Drink some Labatt Blue Lights. That's fun as well with your friends and live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York.
Ever wanted to ask an NFL player a question? Well, here's your chance. It's time to Ask Ross.
All right, Ross, no takes today. We do have an email from Adam. He says, hey, Ross, I'm a big fan of yours. I listen to you weekly on Donnie and Dolly in Vancouver. The back and forth between you and Rick always has me in tears. My question is about the NFL schedule. I am a huge Dolphins fan. I'm wondering if you can explain how the schedule works and the rotations of teams visiting divisions outside their conference. I've never been to an NFL game, and I'm waiting for the day when the Fins are in Seattle. Thanks, dude.
It's from Adam McLean. Adam, thank you very much for the email. Good timing after we had Michael North recently. So you always play your division team. So that's 6 games right there. Then you play 2 other divisions. So if it makes sense, right, you're an AFC fan, the Dolphins will play one of the other AFC divisions every 3 years. They'll play the NFC divisions every 4 years. So it's NFC South, NFC East, and so on and so forth. So the Dolphins will play up in Seattle, or will play Seattle every 4 years, but it might be in Miami. So they're only going to play up in Seattle once every 8 years is how that works across conferences. A good question, really good question. I love it. Hopefully we can get to some more these next couple of weeks. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. You know Father's Day is coming. It'll be here in 2 weeks. Get him the best gift ever and know that you're going to get a signed autograph from your boy if you do. myfrontpagestory.com. Love backofficeschedule.com, steakhousesports.com, humanheadnyc.com, Sporticulture, Pizza Boy Brewing.